And the other thing, Paul, that Johnny Doc did, is I sat there and I was like, you know what? How important is a great quarterback? How important is a quarterback to the success of your school? We've seen it. Joe Burrow, LSU, Stetson Bennett out of Georgia. We've seen this year in and year out. Some of these players, they come in, it's a quarterback, it's lightning in a bottle. They ride that quarterback to what they need to ride it to, and they ride off into the sunset. Caleb Williams at USC winning the Heisman. They were close to a college football playoff berth. They didn't get it. CJ Stroud at Ohio State. It all comes down to your quarterback success. You know the one guy that's defied that logic? Nick Saban. Because he was winning with Jake Coker. He was winning with our boy Greg McElroy, not to take it away from McElroy, but they had Mark Ingram at the time, hand the ball off, throw it, a play action pass. He's the only guy, and I know Tua won the one to Devontae Smith. He came off the bench. He didn't win one as a starter. But I guess the point being, Paul, that he's the one guy in this era of star quarterbacks that really hasn't needed one to succeed better than anyone in the sport.
No, and that's why Alabama fans right now are pushing back so hard. When you call the usual suspects and say, "Hey, what did the scrimmage look like Saturday?" and they all go, "We don't have a quarterback," and then you say that to one of these Bama bubbas from whatever county, and he goes, "Well, who cares?" And they're going to probably win that argument. And I'm sure somebody in Waycross, Georgia, could say, "Hey, we won 2 with Stetson Bennett." Well, Stetson Bennett looked like a first-round draft choice at the end of his career, and of course he wasn't. He was probably the least predicted quarterback to ever win back-to-back. So it is a little odd, but that's just the way it goes. And I think because it's Nick Saban, there's always going to be more obsessing than normal. It's also because of the last 4 quarterbacks. You tell me there have not been many better starting quarterbacks in a row than Hurts, Tua, Mac Jones, and Bryce Young.
Yeah, and Bryce Young, look, he leaves Alabama with just about every accolade you could want. Mac Jones, I think he was the surprise that snuck in there and became as dominant as he did. But when you look at programs' big picture and the health of where these teams are headed going into the season and the health of the program top to bottom, to me, Saban's been the blueprint forever. And when you really dive in and look, you're like, well, wait a second. I mean, there was all these Heisman Trophy winning quarterbacks. I know Bryce Young was one of them, but he was just as dominant without it. You can't say that for many of these teams that have gone through the college football playoff era. Deshaun Watson, Clemson, Trevor Lawrence, Clemson. These were generational type players that led to Clemson's success. They needed that. And I don't think Alabama really does.
No, and listen, without having any clear path to who the quarterback is, Alabama in the past 2 weeks, Matt, whatever it's worth, has been ranked 3rd and 4th preseason, and the best known commentator at ESPN, college football commentator Kirk Herbstreit, picked them to win the national championship. So, again, that doesn't really mean anything. What was interesting about Herbstreit, somebody sent me that last night, and I said, I responded back. I said, there was a time when if you didn't pick Alabama to win the national championship, it seemed outrageous.
Yeah.
Now it almost seems outrageous to pick Alabama to win the national championship. That's how quickly it has changed. But they're still 3rd and 4th in the respective polls.
Well, and that's just it. You can look at, I mentioned the Bryce Young years. Yeah, you got all the postseason accolades. Couldn't beat Georgia. Couldn't win a national championship.
No.
And so Alabama's almost more dangerous when they come in with a bunch of.
In some ways, they are. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would probably pick them to go to the playoffs right now and with a shot at the championship. And it's not that big a deal because if they had a starter. Remember, Bryce Young had 1 year. He could have stayed. Well, don't laugh. I mean, he could have still been there. But. Only one guy's ever done that before, giving up being the number 1 pick in the draft to spend a final year on a college campus. But they're still in a really good position. And if somebody emerged, they could even lose the Texas game the second week of the year. And as long as a quarterback emerges and they can run the table from there, then they'll be in the playoffs.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.